You're listening to a Very Spatial Podcast, episode 764, July 8th, 2025.
Dark here inside my heart, distance from the stars, feels like...
Hello and welcome to a Very Spatial Podcast. I'm Jesse.
I'm Sue.
I'm Barb.
And this is Frank.
And this week we're going to be talking about stuff. But first, of course, some news. And kicking off this week is not really news, or it shouldn't be news now. It's something that's already happened. Esri has deprecated storymaps.com. And if you recall back in the day, storymaps.com was their attempt to try to get creators, social media people, whatever you want to call it. I am not going to use the I word, to use story maps, which a few people did, but really it really focused and continued to be more of the professional population that was using story maps. And that's kind of the upshot. So not really a lot of news, just hey, if you had story maps on storymaps.com.
They've been announcing this for, 18 years, 27 years, forever. It feels like forever. They've been saying, this is going away, this is going away, this is going away. She really should know that by now.
Well, as someone who was impacted, I have to say, even though you've been hearing it, like everyone, you just kept putting it off. But Aaron Carroll, who created Story Maps, wrote a really nice article where he said, here's my process. Look, you're going to have to screenshot things. You're going to have to, maybe download it as a PDF. There's no good way to do it. So save the ones you want to save and just let the other ones sort of, depreciate along with, the storymaps.com. So even though everyone's been hearing it, it doesn't really hit till you're like, oh.
I bet 80% of their client base went, wait, what?
Well, I'm in that category because you say everybody's heard about this, but I didn't find out about it until, I don't know, 25th, 26th of June when it was deprecating on the 30th.
So maybe the reason they've been talking about it for a long time, and maybe the reason I knew about it was because I'm involved in the story maps. Sort of.
Did you have an account on storymaps.com?
I did.
See, I did not.
Well, I didn't use it very much, so I was like, I don't care. But still.
Well, but you would have gotten the emails from it, whereas since I just used traditional story maps, maybe that's why I didn't see it.
I think my question in all this is, are they going to keep the URL? Because it's still a cool URL, and if it's just parked there not doing anything, that's a bummer. That's just my question.
It's Esri. They reuse every name eventually, right? Next up in news, GS Online has had its... I always want it to be quarterly, but it's not quarterly. What's 3 times a year update name?
Tri-annually, whatever.
Yeah. So it's update. This should not be a surprise to many ArcGIS Online users. This is a very common thing they do just before the UC, which is coming up next week, I think it is. So there's a whole bunch of new updates up there, and like almost every update for the last few years now, there's a bunch of little things that are very nice and very useful. There's a bunch of stuff in there that is you never even knew it was an issue, and then there's a couple of things that are like, oh wow, that's really cool that they finally added that, like the ability to just drag and drop files over onto maps in the map viewer. Like, it's kind of a little thing, but actually a big thing. And there's some other cool stuff about content management, which is quite nice, because I've always been frustrated with the process of republishing data, because the workflow that I think most people who have been using GIS for a really long time have gotten into is using something like ArcGIS Pro and making a map and using some data and then hitting publish. And then suddenly you have some feature layers up there and you got your map, and then you go to do it again in ArcGIS Pro and you hit publish and it goes, can't, it's already there. And you go, wait, what? So the process of updating was always a real pain in the neck. This new data update thing is going to make it easier.
I'm excited about the curved line. That you now can, have that curved line sketch feature to add paths easily.
And I will note that Model Builder is now no longer in preview. It is now general release as of this version.
Which means I'll have to go take a look at it. I really just kind of waited.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't really use Model Builder on the desktop, so I'm not going to worry too much about using Model Builder in this, because most of the things I do, I spend more time doing one-offs as opposed to repetitious things. So,
well, on top of that, if you're in the category of user that's in the low code, no code sort of mindset, it's a really cool product, but if you're in the category of user that's used to just hammering out the code, it's
more important
theory,
that they updated ArcPy and others in Notebook.
yes, because sometimes it's just easier to write the doggone code yourself than to futz around with Model Builder, because there's limitations of Model Builder that don't exist in code. So that's always been my problem in Model Builder. I'm like, cool toy, let me get some real work done over here with ArcPy.
Next up, Google brings historical Street View to Google Earth. And so if you are in Google Earth, and I think this is desktop or online, I only checked online, and you go to a certain location that has Street View photos, and in the upper bar, you can click on other images, and that'll show you historic images. So if you have a location that's captured fairly often, you'll see multiple time slices that you can look at. If it's ones that have just been captured a couple of times, like the one I grabbed right before we were recording, you can still see. So for instance, it was 2024 and 2021 in this fairly new neighborhood. So yeah.
Well, and I think it should be mentioned that the reason why they're releasing it now is in celebration of the 20th anniversary of Google Earth right now. So we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of all these things from the heady days of June 2005, right? Not, I suppose, least of which would be the VerySpatial podcast, right? June,
well, that's
July-ish.
July.
Yeah, well, we were talking about it in June. But anyway, it's weird. Like all these things are coming around now, 20 years. And so this is just, so as they noted, like different articles about it, right? It's partially to celebrate that's how we're seeing the imagery. So
it's cool, but also it's not like we haven't been asking for it for 20 years. Google.
Well, there have been various like little projects and pieces, but yeah.
That other people have done.
Yes. That have been visible in it. Yes, but not done by Google. Next up, in some remote sensing news, we got bad news, good news. So bad news first. And that is that MethaneSat. So I don't remember if we talked about this last year when it launched, but this was a project to create a satellite that would monitor methane emissions. So looking at, climate change issues. And it launched in March 2024, so made it a year. And unfortunately, not too long ago, I think it was a couple weeks ago, like our recording time, they lost contact with it. So communications lost. And then after some investigation, they think that the power has been lost and the satellite might be lost. So prior to that, over 6-8 months, whatever, we've been seeing some really interesting data from MethaneSat. So proof of concept, I guess, mission was successful in that sense, but they were actually able to look at methane emissions and get them right down to specific areas. And they had target areas that they were looking at. So it wasn't available for the whole globe. But just an example of when you put all these things together, and there was some really big partners that were involved in getting this done and getting the satellite built, that when we try to look at how can we understand where things are coming from that are contributing to, greenhouse gas emissions, stuff like that, we do have a technology. And so hopefully they'll be able to, move this project forward or something like it to get something back up there. Now, they are running some diagnostics and stuff, or trying to communicate with it. So I guess there's possibility that a miracle it will come back, but it's not likely. So I think that they've recognized the loss.
Let's note that was actually funded by Jeff Bezos of Amazon fame
And
I don't
Google.
remember. Well, yeah. But the point is that we're talking about people who have some deep pockets. So I would hope that even if they can't get it back online, they have the founders, the funders would recognize the utility, the importance of this, and get Methane 2 up and running sooner than later.
And of course, the operator's Environmental Defense Fund.
Yes. So, and if you want to see, the site's still up and you could see some of the data they actually did release. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, it could pinpoint like sources in a couple of test areas, including one related to oil and gas industry in Texas, I think, and a couple others. So
MethaneSat.org.
Yes. I think it's MethaneSat Explorer, I think is the tool. So, yes.
But the site.
All right. So on a more positive note, a satellite that was launched by the European Space Agency back at the end of April. And of course, as you remember from all the years of us reporting on these, that satellites, once they're lost, they have to go through commissioning. They run tests and stuff, and then they usually release some preview data. And that's the stage where we're at with this satellite, which is Biomass, which is part of ESA's Earth Explorer series of missions. And they've now been releasing the first images. So at Living Planet Symposium, which was a recent event, and it got picked up by major news organizations, essentially Biomass is using synthetic aperture radar. So it's a radar sensor, and it allows you to get down through clouds to actually see the biomass, right? The forest floors, the forests. And so the hope is that eventually they'll have a 3D map of Earth's forests. But the first imagery is really nice. So it's, according to ESA, it's the first satellite to carry a P-band synthetic aperture radar, if you're into the techie stuff. But the first images that they did share are pretty impressive. So, and when you look at them, of course, they're processed images that represent the radar data having been processed, color added, and stuff like that. But yeah, pretty cool.
I have a soft spot in my heart for SAR data because the first professional job I had was working with SAR data. So,
And one more Earth observation piece of news. TEMPO, which is the Tropospheric Emissions Monitoring of Pollution mission, has been extended. So it was originally supposed to end in 2025, June, and it has been extended through September 2026. So this 1.5 year project has been extended to become a 2.5 year project. Hopefully, of course, the sensor continues and the thing continues to go
yes,
longer.
That's another one, pollution, air quality. So that's what's been being monitored there.
Yeah, and that's one of NASA's. So yeah, we have a lot of different things going on with Earth observation data, both positive and negative. And we can talk about how processing is happening as well. So the folks over at Eagleview, who, I don't know, did I interview them for the North Carolina GIS conference? I think I did. I don't know. We've interviewed so many people that I've after 19.9 years, just like who was it this time? But Eagleview One has been released, and this is their new platform for basically putting everything into it, using AI models to get data out of this, and of course, allowing their partners and clients to be able to access data more quickly. So it looks like an interesting solution. So if you are looking for something where, you know, it's kind of a prepackaged solution, it's something you might want to look at, especially for structures and those type of things that Eagleview has been very much focusing on over the last few years.
And that's it for the news.
Dark here inside my heart, distance from the stars, feels like we're
In the web corner, the EGNSS Center for Excellence out of the EU has a new website that is focused on understanding positioning and timing, as well as the impacts, negative largely, that we're seeing right now, especially with a lot of the conflict going on, to GNSS signals. And so if you go over to pntportal.eu, you can find out a lot of different information. They have resources about understanding GNSS, looking at current impacts on GNSS, kind of some of the ideas of where we're going, everything from ground signals to quantum physics in terms of backup systems for GNSS and PNT. So yeah, it's an interesting site that you might want to take a look at.
They have a really nice resilience assessment that you can go through to assess your own vulnerability to GNSS interference for, you know, your organization or yourself if you work with it.
dark here inside my heart, distance from the stars, feels like
This week on the topic, in celebration of the Esri UC, the 2025 Esri UC, which is going to start on July 16th, I think it is. 14th, July 14th, which is Monday, upcoming from when we filmed this episode, record this episode. I thought it'd be nice to talk a little bit about UCs of the past that we've been to and some things we've learned, give some just general advice for anyone going, and some things that are changing, at least for me, for the UC this year as opposed to in the past.
I do want to give a caveat on this one, that it's been probably 15 years since we've been to a UC.
However, we can talk about a few things that aren't dated. like every UC since, I'm assuming, like the second or third, it's taking early on, it's taking place in San Diego. So the location hasn't changed whatsoever. The International UC has been there since for a very, very long time.
After they were at Palm Springs.
Yeah. I first in number they were at Palm Springs, and then they moved to San Diego. San Diego is a lovely place to be. I've never been there in January, but I'm going to go ahead and go on a limb and guess it's a lovely place to be year round, at least where the UC is located at, in the just off the coast there. The other thing that has been true of the UC for a really long time now is that the San Diego Convention Center, where it's housed, is very big, and it's designed specifically to have multiple conferences running simultaneously. There are only two conferences where that is not true. One is the much vaulted and celebrated Comic-Con that takes up the entire building. The other one is the Esri UC. It takes up the entire building, which is pretty impressive to have that much GIS under more or less one roof for almost a whole week.
It's actually even more than one roof, because since they've added the virtual component, I've been attending, virtually.
Well, we'll get to that. I'm going to
Okay.
get to the virtual. That stuff has changed, but if you're physically located there, but it has spilled out to some of the hotels on either side of it as well. So you're right, it is under technically more than one roof. So my first big tip then for anyone going to the UC is that if you're going there, you're going to walk a lot and wear footwear that allows you to walk a lot. I mean, a lot. I think I walk more at the UC than I do anywhere else ever.
And allow travel time. So, if you're going to go to sessions, and they can be, one in the sales pavilion area, right? Or if you're doing the map gallery or whatever, assuming it's still there, and then you have to run off to one of the rooms. It's not like, I got 5 more minutes. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because, it's a long way, like a lot of times.
And of course, as soon as you're out of sessions or between sessions, as you're going to lunch, a lot of times you're going to be going outside into the gas lamp district. So you're just as likely to be walking 5, 10, 15 blocks to your restaurant and back in the middle of your day as well. So it's not just in the conference center. It's also outside.
Yeah. And something they don't really talk about that much is it's a slow uphill. If you go into the gas lamp, you're going slightly uphill. Now, compared to West Virginia, it's not really, but after about 3 or 4 blocks, you go, there's a bit of a hill here.
Or if you're like those of us in South Carolina currently, where we don't have hills anymore, it's noticeable.
Yes, like you can't prep by walking up hills like to go to various things, because it's all flat here.
Yeah. So there's a lot of walking. And the thing that I particularly any students who are listening to this, or anyone who may be, interested in talking to vendors or talking to Esri, whoever it may be, about potential employment opportunities, you want to dress nice. That's understandable. You want to put on a good impression, wear comfortable shoes. The nice dress shoes that you wear to an interview are not the shoes to be wearing walking that much, unless you just really hate yourself for some reason, because it would be, even with comfortable shoes, you get wore out. So make sure you have a set of shoes that are very nice for walking. If you have to, carry the nice shoes and change.
I would also say, along with that, I know that, we need any conference we go to, special backpacks for all the gear, but, practice packing and unpacking what you're going to carry, if you're going to carry any equipment with you, but also, have a notebook to write things down. A lot of times people aren't carrying any business cards, but, have a way to share your information, because a lot of what you get out of the UC are those conversations in the hallway and with vendors and with people at booths, and making those types of connections where you want to be able to quickly add something to your phone or a notebook to keep in touch.
A lot of NFC options, so you can put your information onto an NFC card, ring, whatever, and just tap between your devices.
Space age.
It also helps to really plan out your days a bit. I know it's kind of tedious. It's just fun to go and sort of see, but there is a lot going on, and there's really to my mind, I don't know what you guys think, but to my mind, there's really two conferences happening simultaneously. One is Esri's conference about this is the cool stuff you can do with our software, which is really really valuable and powerful, particularly if you've hit problems, because you can oftentimes talk to the person who actually wrote the stupid thing and ask, how does this work? That's a great one. But there's also a lot of really wonderful sessions that are being put out by actual users who are doing this and who, are saying, look, I know what the software says it can do, and I know what the sales ad says it can do, but this is what we found trying to actually do it. And that could be some ways more valuable and experience those bit of conference stuff. So along with what Stu's talked about, there's a lot of spatial disjoint between these sessions. It is very helpful to start thinking about, how do I want to think about my days? Do I want to focus on the Esri based materials? I want to focus on what the users are doing. Do I want to split it up? It can really help you get the most out of your experience.
You're going to mix
And-
it. Come on.
Well, you want to mix, but sometimes one's in one section of the building and another one's in another section of the building, and there's a lot of running. It's worth thinking it through.
And to add to that, if you're somebody who's also going to be doing your job while you're there, it helps to find a quiet spot that you claim for yourself and pick a certain time and just sort of time block that time off for whatever official job you've got, so that you can touch in without having to leave and go somewhere else. Just, there are a lot of quiet places you can find, and just go there every day of the UC and go, okay, this is my work time. I found that better than trying to answer emails and do UC stuff. You sort of want to, separate the two if you can.
Okay, going back to what Frank was saying. Yeah, I mean, you have this whole schedule. It is all available. It has been available for a while now. If you haven't already looked at the calendar and figured out where you want to go, the thing with the not Esri sessions there are a lot that are in your industry. So you don't have to worry about it being software specific. It can be something that's specific to how you do your daily job. So yeah, focus on those as well.
And I would note that might be different for those of you out there that are in the education community, either academics yourselves or students, that this is a professional conference. I mean, there's academic elements to it, but it's much more, a lot of the sessions are much more
This is a
experience.
convention. It's actually a convention. It's less conference and more convention.
So, and there is that, right? But it's like, if you're used to going to conferences where a lot of papers are about, hey, this is this little part of this sub-discipline and this, set of theories and that, and things like case study are, like just mentioned a little briefly in these papers. Like, a lot of the presentations you'll see at the Esri UC are actually, this is how I did this, right? I'm the city of so-and-so, and this is how we implemented online mapping to report, graffiti violations or whatever. And so it's interesting there, because you can get a lot more, this is actually how I did it. And the question and answer for that is, I thought those sessions were the most enlightening, right, and different than when the first time or two that we went to the UC. Those, I think, were the most different, like in terms of the material and the kind of interaction afterward.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, for the most part, most of the attendees are paying a lot of money to go, just be there. If you're in education, oftentimes we get a free pass of some sort or access to a greatly reduced pass. But most of those attendees, particularly in industry, are paying a lot of money, and they don't hold back really on letting you know where the problems are and where the issues are. And that, I think, is, like I said, is going to be the most valuable piece of this. Yeah, we tried that, but it sucks. Or, we tried that and it just didn't work. You get a lot of that type of interaction, which can be really helpful for understanding when you're trying to do something, what avenues are going to be a lot more work than other avenues. You can maybe go certain directions out of the gate and save yourself some time and energy.
And I think you very briefly touched on it earlier, Frank, too. One of the things, if you go out into the vast exhibit space, and I think, I'm not sure if you can do appointments, but you can actually get access to the various teams. So one of the things that you can do is, I'd like to talk about my GIS setup or this question I have, and you can get that, which I always thought, again, was something I didn't realize till we were walking by. And we were talking to various people. So we were talking to the ArcScene people one time, things like that. But just telling how old it is, ArcScene. But anyway, I think that's something that maybe people don't realize that are coming for the first time, or, they expect a little bit more of a usual conferencey experience. Don't realize, hey, there's again also this interaction. So when you do your planning, as far Barb and others are saying, scheduling, there might be these types of things that you can build in too, right, to really get the most out. I think of all the conferences that we go to or have gone to back in the day, this was the one where you pack the most stuff in.
It is, and I think, and we've been to both the UC and the Comic-Con, and it's amazing that, yes, the UC uses a little bit less of the floor for its vendor hall than Comic-Con does, but just a little bit. It's like one small section difference. And it's been 15 years. It might not even be that anymore. They may be the same size at this point. And there's that many. Yeah, there's, a good portion of it is Esri in the middle, but all the way around you have people from different industries, from different types of technologies. You have traditionally kind of those groups that are on kind of the edge, kind of set over to one, literally on the edge, but figuratively on the edge of technology as well. So yeah, you have lots of different people that you can go and talk to and see not just what you're using day to day, but what other things might be out there, and talk to people to, get a sense of what other tools might be out there, but also tools that are in what you already have access to that you just may not be aware of.
And it's a great opportunity to physically touch everything, to literally go and handle and see things that normally you would only be reading about in the trade journals or online, but to actually get that many vendors in one space.
I want to jump to probably, I think, my single favorite thing at the UC, because it's not something that it's obvious once you hear it, but it's not something that you think about normally. It's going to be the greatest location to interact with and see the most cartographic representations, diversity and breadth and depth that you'll ever experience, maybe ever. And that's the map gallery. The map gallery is one of those things that I think that a lot of times you think, whatever, I got too many other things to do. It's really worth taking time to go there. And Esri understands this. They have a reception there on the first night, I think it is, that you can go. I think almost everybody is allowed to go for free, and you can see the maps there. But really, I've never found a place that was better at giving me a wealth of ideas in my cartography of like, well, I never thought of doing that, or, oh, that's really kind of cool, or I wonder how they did that. The thing that's really kind of cool about the map reception is a lot of times you can talk to the people who actually made the map. They usually are kind of there, and you can say, well, how the heck did you do this, or where did you make that? And you'll find that a lot of this stuff is using tools that are just outside of Esri's tool set. They go, yeah, we didn't here, but then we export it into Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever it may be to try to touch it up. But it's, when you're thinking about how to represent your geographic data and your information, the map gallery is so wonderful for that. There's lots of books. There's the book that gets put out every year, but just seeing it in real on the wall is amazing.
Yeah. So the map book includes ones that were in the map gallery. And of course, there's a lot of interactive as well. So even the last couple of times we went, there were already a lot of interactive stations set up for people to go to different story maps or different web maps that were being built, and also moving into those multidimensional spaces as well. So not just things like ArcScene, but of course now we're talking about web scenes and ArcGIS Pro and those type of 3D environments where you have a little bit more interactivity. So it's not just static maps, but also interactive displays as well.
One of my favorite things is, Frank talked about, seeing so much of the cartographic representation around you, but a lot of times as geospatial professionals, we talk about how people don't know what we do. But here we have this very large gathering of other people who really understand what you do. And you have an opportunity to talk to them and in, the language that everyone understands in our profession.
But to counterpoint that, also people who are doing things that are completely different from what you're doing and look at it completely different than you do. And so it gives you people to bounce different ideas around with as well. So you have that common language, but different perspectives. And so you're just getting, the best of both worlds in that.
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head when you talked about it being a professional conference. This is professional people coming together to talk about the subject matter or this tool set or this approach in a very intense way to solve real world problems. And it's such a great way to, just as Barbara and Jesse said, to talk to other professionals in the GIS realm, but also talk to people who are trying to utilize this in other contexts or other ways of thinking to get new ideas. I mean, I don't think I've ever come back from a UC not super energized about GIS and excited about the things that I could do, coming back with new ideas. Now throughout the year, rubber hits the road, reality sets in, some of the stuff that's going on you can't implement, but having that in the back of your head is just such a energy boost, I think, just to get you to think about the world a little differently, your GIS profession a little differently.
I always felt like it was partially public relations for GIS to make us feel really good, so we keep doing the work we're doing.
Successful then. I mean, it is
Yes,
right. The
very
energy
successful. If it does, it makes you
Yeah.
feel good.
that's the energy that's there every time we were there and has continued on, right? And people that we've talked to have gone in more recent events, maybe where we hadn't been there, come back and they have the same, like it was amazing. It was crazy and it was amazing. So I think that's a plus. It's that nice validation.
Well, and it goes back to what Barb was saying. And it's not about necessarily that it's Esri and you're seeing what they're doing. It's the fact that you have these other people that you're talking to in the hallways with that shared ideology, or language. So yeah, it's that I think really pushes people to be excited about it as much as perhaps more than the technology itself.
So, weird off question. Is there any part of the UC that you would just skip? You just not worry about or give cursory? We talked about the wonderful things that you can go interact with, but is there anything in particular you go, it's okay. You don't have to do it. I have an answer. I'm just curious if anyone else does.
My answer would be, I don't know if it's something I would skip, but I would definitely pick a time period when you want to go explore things around San Diego or go do something so that you can enjoy being there, for part of a day. And I think that's going to be different for each person depending on, what sessions are going on and what areas they're interested in.
No, I'm waiting for you guys to give an answer. I'm curious.
I don't have anything that I would say skip.
I think, as I remember, did it very often. Although they were cool and provided, way back then, food truck lunches and stuff like that. But we didn't really. So this is not even session related. We didn't very often do that. We love to go off into the city at lunchtime and get some gas lamp eats.
My controversial answer would be the plenary. I'll be honest with you. Of all the things that go on that week, the plenary is the less interesting of them all. So for those who aren't aware, there's Hall H, which is, as far as I know, the biggest hall in all of San Diego Convention Center. They put out seats for ballpark of 15,000 people. And literally it's the only thing going on day one. And you all sit in these chairs and the big stage, and Jack comes out and all the heads come out and they talk about the year in GIS all morning. They talk about the cool things they're doing in Esri and all this other stuff like that, which is neat. It's interesting. Years ago, we used to live stream it, but the reality is they're going to talk about that the whole week. The whole week, they're going to be hitting on those points. You get the highlights really cool in a 3 or 4 hour, whatever it is, session, but it's not that critical. I don't think.
See, I like it so much that I make my students watch the recordings of the plenary every time that we start the fall semester. So, I think it's something to attend, to soak up that energy, and also to, see what people are saying. I like to think about how much time they put into preparing for what they're going to present, because you can tell a lot of effort went into it.
It's a show.
So just one slight comment on Frank's statement that is Hall H. Hall H is very important for Comic-Con. This is halls F, G, and H.
Oh, my fault. All right. I just remember being on, because we always went on the far side, which is H. So
yeah. But it's a big space with a lot of people in it. I think, because it seems like we're beginning to lean towards the virtual conversation. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 things. One, of course, the Thursday night. Don't skip that.
Oh no, yeah, go to that.
So if you or your company or university has paid for it, go to it. Have fun. Is it
Good
Where is it this
food.
year? I didn't.
It's
I
at
think I saw a
Petco.
Petco Park
Petco
or
Park.
something
So
like
that's
that.
right across the street.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go that far.
Yeah, and it's good food, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a good wind down.
The other thing are the summits. One, the Education and Safety Security Summit. So those are 2 different ones. Education is one, and Safety and Security Summit is another. Those are both taking place the 12th through the 15th. So these are the pre-events, and then they include the plenary day and the day after. There's a few last sessions for those. But during the conference, well, there's also GIS Manager Summit the day before on Sunday, the 13th. But the rest of them, Spatial Analytics Summit, Imagery Summit, AI Summit, Science Summit, Native Nations Summit, Developer Summit. There are others that I think are further down this list. These are all summits that are going on around themes, essentially, that you can participate in at the conference, though they do require reservations. So if you are going, make sure to go online, see if you can still get a reservation space. And these are a little bit more focused. So for instance, the Dev Summit that's here is not the multi-day Dev Summit that you get in the spring, but it does give you access to specifics as developers who are working in this environment. So yeah, those are the 2 things I wanted to highlight about the on-site events.
Yeah, and I would just add one thing. You've heard us mention it a couple of times. So as far as paying and attending, right, registration and stuff like that, if you're with an educational organization or an agency or a company or whatever that has big licenses, check what comes with that. So different levels. There might be slots that will be paid so that you don't have to pay to come to the conference, because if you do, it is pricey. And so take a look at those. I don't know, I was looking around, do they still have like the student volunteer opportunities and stuff which can help out as well?
All of that would have been months ago.
Yeah, but I'm saying that
For next
if
year,
you're getting excited and you want to go next time, right?
Yeah.
This year.
Next.
Then those are things that you can think about potentially to offset some of the
Yeah, those are
the
generally
cost.
due 2 to 3 months in advance.
yes,
So
at least if not more.
yeah.
And if you want to do a presentation, just know that that's due in the fall before.
Yeah. Then
So,
we generally
Yeah, in
announce
fact,
that.
a couple of months after this UC, the call will come out for next year's presentations if you want to present. So
Another feature I do want to highlight that often gets slept on is the SIGs, the special interest groups.
Mhm.
They usually meet during lunchtime one day, and they meet. There's anything you can think of it being an interest group. There's a special interest group for it, but it's people who are passionate about it. It's worth going to one of those if it's something it's interested in. Just pack your lunch.
Now, I will say that most conferences, the SIGs take place one day at lunch. Here, it's multiple days during lunch and in the early evenings. So there's a number of different special interest groups, and I assume there are more now than the last time we were there. So probably spread from Tuesday all the way to Thursday at this point.
and that's where you get to go
Yeah,
talk
I
about
mean,
your little
there-
niche
Yeah.
or listen to others.
So the new feature that is all relatively new, I think, certainly for us, since the last time we were at the UC, is the virtual conference. Barbara mentioned it earlier on, but there is virtual attendance now. I'm going to be attending the UC virtually this year, for example. That is, again, if you have one of these large licenses, look and see if you're capable of getting a ticket for those for low cost or no cost. You can still register even right now for the virtual conference if you were wanting to go. The nice thing is you can see the presentations. Not all of them are available online, but a large number of them. I think almost all of the Esri ones are. So if you're particularly wanting to hear the presentations from Esri, you can check that out. The plenary is, despite me, poo-pooing it a little bit, you can watch it virtually. And that's a very cost-effective way to attend, quote unquote, the UC. You don't get the hallway conversations. You don't get all that stuff that's wonderful, and you don't get the great food, but you can get a lot of the information that way, particularly given, air travel and hotel reservations, all that stuff can be quite pricey. It's a very cost-effective way to attend, quote unquote, the conference.
And we've done it a few times now. So I don't remember the first year they did it. It probably was around that before times.
Yeah, I think it's I believe they did it. I want to say 2018 to be honest with you, but it really obviously came up to speed during the pandemic, and they've continued it, which has been a wonderful addition, I think.
I have to say, I especially at the beginning, I was like, well, this is just the old folks conversation of the UC. Wear good shoes, have good bags.
Well, they're
practical.
Those are important things.
They're
Yes.
important, but it's just like, oh my God, we're old.
Yes, because when you're young and whatever, like those things don't distract you.
Yeah.
I tell you what, when
you reach.
I was young doing the UC, I got done that week. I was like, my God, I wish somebody had told me this, because well. Also, keep in mind that every floor at the San Diego Convention Center is concrete, and that's extra hard on your feet. So
There's a little bit of very thin carpeting. Very, very thin carpeting.
It's just
Some
for
of
those of
this
us
is
coming from
also-
academia and the sizes, right? It's just on just another level of like another magnitude. And so you just might not think of those things.
Ironically, for geography, geospatial people, we don't really understand the scale of the problem until you experience it.
But I also would say that some of this is sharing things that we wish we had done. And so that's why I said, I wish that I had basically told work, no. I'm here, I'm enjoying myself, and just immersed myself every time I went to the UC to its full potential. But of course, in hindsight, you can look back and say that, but it's not the same thing when you're getting those emails and calls.
Yes. And when VerySpatial people we were outside and people ran into us like with sunburn because we didn't think, hey, San Diego, it's super sunny out here. Maybe some sunscreen or a hat. Those are practical things.
See, I was going to suggest
Yeah.
that, but thought, no, that's really old. That's like,
Yeah.
pack
That
a
is lesson
hat.
learned, kind of thing. So
Go to conferences, whether it's this one or other ones. Talk to people. Enjoy yourselves. We're in an awesome industry that has awesome people in it. Get to know more of them. That's kind of it, I think. Does that kind of summarize it, Frank?
I think so. I think so. And if you have anything interesting to share, always send us an email.
Because, of course, after talking about one event the whole time, we don't have any events in the events corner. So if you do have events, send us an email at podcast@veryspatial.com.
if you'd like to reach us individually, I can be reached at sue@veryspatial.com.
And Barb at VerySpatial.com.
You can reach me at frank@veryspatial.com.
I'm available at jesse@veryspatial.com. And, of course, you can find all of our contact information over at veryspatial.com/contacts.
As always,
We're the folks from Very Spatial.
Thanks for listening.
And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Dark here inside my heart, distance from the stars, feels like we're going nowhere far. Miles from my heart, the space between the stars, feels like we're worlds apart. And even though you had to go away, I'm still with you. And even if I couldn't make you stay, I still feel you here. Feel you here. Well, maybe these words will never reach you. Maybe that's alright. We'll just keep hoping things will get better in time. Or maybe these words won't mean a thing, and maybe you're doing fine. Wish it was you instead of my guitar, holding you inside my arms.
Try to act like I'm just fine, but really deep inside, feels like I'm just getting by.
And even though you had to go away, I'm still with you. And even if I couldn't make you stay, I still feel you here. Feel you words will never reach you. Maybe that's alright. We'll just keep hoping things will get better in time. Maybe these words won't mean a thing, and maybe you're doing fine. Wish it was you instead of my guitar, holding you inside my arms tonight. Wish it was you instead of my guitar, holding you inside my arms.